Hello. So there are more media people now than us, but let's see what Isabel is up to. Can you explain what happened?
Okay, so this morning we got up ridiculously early, as we have the past of the mornings as well, and we went to the forum, and we went and saw about Sadhguru, and did some meditation. It was nice and calm, we had some time to reflect on what's happened the past few days. And then just after that, we met with Reuters, who's doing an interview with us and following us around and just finding out what the youth think and about the movement and Davos and the web. And we had breakfast with them, and then also more filming teams. And yeah, so there's a lot of cameras in our lives right now, not just the one. And then soon we're going to go back into town, and we're going to go to the open forum and see a panel with young change makers and about the power of...
I'm sorry.
Hello. Can you present yourself?
What?
Can you present who you are?
Hey, I'm Niklas. I'm 15 and I'm living in Davos.
And so, who is Niklas? Isabel?
Niklas is the person we're staying with. This is his house. And it's amazing. It's such a beautiful house. And yeah, we feel right at home. So nice. Cool. And then we went to the open forum where we saw a panel on youth climate activism and like how youth will be the power in the future. And oh my gosh, there are some really cool kids out here that are saying wonderful things. Yeah, but there was one Swiss guy that was representing the climate movement that was saying some quite weird things that we didn't really agree with, like how it's all up to like individual difference and how the activists in the streets need to get into the power positions, and we need to start registering ourselves into parties. And I think he kind of missed the point that we're doing this because that system isn't working and because that system is too slow. So we're doing everything we can by putting pressure from the outside. And of course it's good that there's people like him doing things from the inside, but we just have to realise that the system is too slow for what needs to be done right now. I mean, we're in a crisis. But yeah, after that panel we started talking with Michael White, who was on it, who was the co-founder of Occupy Wall Street. And he was also really interesting to talk to. He had some really interesting views on climate change and just activism in general, and how like we should never stick to the same thing. Like you should, even within activism, it's okay to be controversial, but you don't have to stick to like the orthodoxy of activism. And he was talking about how controversial it was as an activist to go to the WEF, and how it could be like a social suicide as an activist. But that's, if we are so scared against going activist norms, how are we really activists? And I thought it was a really interesting conversation to have, considering that we also have received some critique about going to WEF. During that conversation we also met some more students our age that were here in Davos, but not in the WEF, and we spoke to them a lot about the climate movement and different things. And I think they're coming to the strike on Friday, which is really nice. We went to two panels in the WEF. The first one about Arctic ice is melting, and it was introduced by the scientist Gail Weitzman.
Something like that.
And if all the permafrost in the Arctic is released, that is like adding in the CO2 emissions of all EU countries.
But on the panel it was Al Gore, it was a guy from Guggenheim, there was also Sanna Marin, you know, the Prime Minister from Finland. And it was a really interesting panel because the guy from Guggenheim was like, he's an investor. So he was like, oh yeah, we need to continue making money in the Arctic and in investing is good. But then Sanna Marin got really angry with him. Like, no, we need to protect the Arctic. That was very interesting. I thought Sanna Marin did a really, really good job on that panel, and I think for a Prime Minister, she's very radical. And I haven't seen that before in Prime Ministers. So I think the young generation is going to take over.
I think that by having movements which are pretty radical, that allows that space for politicians to then talk more radically.
And then after that panel, I talked to Sanna Marin, and she was quite nice as well. Seemed kind of happy to be there and talk to us. And then and Jill got kind of overexcited and said like, oh, do you want to take a photograph? And we didn't know how to react. And someone didn't know how to react, so we just ended up taking a really awkward photograph. Yeah, now we have a photograph with Sanna Marin.
Yeah, I think that the VEF is a lot of taking picture with famous people.
So after the panel on the Arctic ice, we went immediately in the same room to another panel, but it was about food and the future. And Johan Rockström, Swedish climate scientist, he was the one that did the speech beforehand, and he was going through the science behind agriculture and what happens with it and how it affects
the planetary boundaries approach with the 9 systems that regulate the stability of the planet. We want to be in this green space, and we show that food alone is pushing ourselves, as you see, across 5 of the 9 boundaries.
But he was really explaining how agriculture affects the world and how we're using up resources we don't have. And then we came to the panel. And the panel was a guy from PepsiCo, like the CEO of PepsiCo, and some woman that's got a startup that's making new technologies. This one guy that's CEO of some agriculture board.
He's the CEO of the World Organization for Agriculture.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But the entire half-hour panel, the only thing they were talking about was new technologies. And like, oh, with new technologies we will solve this crisis. So we had the meet the young change makers dinner. So it was like all the teenage change makers and then lots of other people. And we sat at a table with Naomi Wadler.
Can you introduce her?
So she's a 13-year-old activist. She's from Washington, D.C. in America, and she stands against gun violence and for women of color's voices. And she's absolutely amazing. I mean, she's this tiny little girl, but she's got such a strong voice and such a strong message, and she's incredibly good at speaking. So when she talks, everybody listens to drop what they're doing and listen to her. So Loukina sat between her and Al Gore, which we didn't realise what was going to happen when we sat there. Who else was there? So Jane Goodall was there, and she held a speech, which was quite cool, and she talked about her initiatives and how she tries to make her work as sustainable as possible, even though she flies to so many different places.
I'm going to start off with my typical greeting, just to kind of wake you up, because we're not the only creatures on the planet, are we? We share, or should share, with other living beings. So I like to be the voice of those other living beings and greet you with
And then after that, all the youth changemakers wanted to take a photograph, so we took a photograph with Jane Goodall and Al Gore.
And then when we came back in the shuttle bus, we were only with people who were drunk. Here we are.
Yeah.
Heading to bed.
Finally.
But we hope we are getting somewhere, at least. Trying our best while we are being inside of this craziness.